slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
How long does it take to run a sub 3 hour marathon? That's probably one of the most often asked questions I get. And I know a lot of athletes out there trying to run 2:59, 59. In my opinion, anything under 3 hours is an elite time for the marathon. I think once you get into anything, you're in a level of competing and racing that so few runners out there are able to achieve. And I don't know the exact amount, but of the millions of runners that run marathons around the world each year, I would say probably between 1 to 3% run under 3 hours for the marathon. So how long does it take to run a sub 3 hour marathon? I really think it's going to be dependent on how fit you are, how long your buildup has been. If you really want to run a sub 3 hour marathon, I would focus on 20 to 24 weeks. So 5 to 6 months, you fully prepare yourself to break this barrier. And in some cases, depending on how much time you want to give yourself, 6 months to a year. Give yourself even up to a year to build up for a marathon and to fully prepare to break the 3 hour marathon. That comes out to 6:52 mile pace or 4:16 per kilometer for 42.2 kilometers. And it's one thing to go out there and run under an hour and 30 minutes for a half marathon, but to do that back to back really takes a special athlete. It takes an athlete that really has fully focused on a long-term approach to break the 3 hour marathon barrier. And how long it takes to break a 3 hour marathon, I think it comes down to how close you are to breaking the barrier. Maybe your PR is 3:05 and you're trying to run 2:59 versus the athlete that's maybe at like 4:15 or 4:14 for the marathon trying to run 2:59. Obviously, the athlete that's closer to breaking 3 hours, that amount of time that's going to be needed might be shorter. But in some cases, because again, this time is so competitive, maybe your PR is 3:05. It may take you another 2 to 3 years to get to 2:59. It might take 6 months. So again, I think it really, in terms of how long it takes to break the 3 hour marathon, really comes down to how much mileage you've been putting in, how much focus you've been really training, how much time you've been really focused on training more toward under 6:20 mile pace, so that again you get to that 6:52 mile pace to feel more in control. Okay, you don't want to be hurting in a marathon in say the first 10 miles. Okay, it's natural to really be starting to really hurt in the last 10 kilometers of the race, and especially the last 5 kilometers of the race. I ran my PR for the marathon of 2:19:35 when I was 31, but it took me from 1992 to 2007 to break the 2 hour and 20 minute marathon barrier. It took me from 1992 to 2002 when I ran my debut marathon in 2:43:36 to break 3 hours. Okay, so that was 10 years of running. And of course, maybe I would have been able to break 3 hours several years before 2002, but I didn't run my first marathon until the 2002 New York City Marathon. So it's several years of buildup. Okay, the marathon is not a 1500. It's not a 10,000 meter on the track. This is a very long event. It takes a long-term approach, especially if you're trying to run under 3 hours. You need to get to a point where you can run a half marathon in around an hour and 25 to an hour and 27 minutes to break the 3 hour marathon barrier. Okay, it's not an easy task, but it's doable. There are other athletes around the world that break 3 hours, so why can't you? You have to start visualizing yourself doing this, and you have to start implementing mental rehearsal, mental training into your preparation. See yourself passing runners. See yourself running in control, running aggressive. See yourself getting across the finish line with 2:59:59 on the clock. Okay, I did this back when I was a 2:43 marathoner trying to run under 2 hours and 22 minutes. That was a USA Track and Field Olympic Trials B standard time. in 2007. So I was trying to run a time that was significantly faster than I was currently at. Okay. So if you're at like 5 hours right now, what's to say you can't break 3 hours in 5 to 15 years? Okay. It can be done. Okay. It's just a matter of consistent action and staying persistent with what you're doing. It's breaking 3 hours is not an easy task. It's not an easy task for me or any other runner. There are female athletes out there breaking 3 hours. There are male athletes out there that are breaking 3 hours. There are athletes of both genders that are trying to get under this barrier and have spent several years trying to break this barrier and never do it. So, but there are other athletes out there that do it. So again, it's changing up your tactics. As I talk about in other videos, long runs are important, but start running your long runs at faster paces and sprinkling in some other efforts and sprinkling in some other paces throughout your long run that are beyond just running at easy, relaxed paces. Run some miles or some kilometers at your 10K race pace. Run some miles or kilometers at your half marathon race pace. Of course, jog some miles and kilometers throughout that long run as well. But just don't get in the habit of running slow and easy every weekend, especially if you're trying to break 3 hours. This is an elite time. So your standards and your mental preparation, your physical preparation have got to notch up. You have to really get to another level of thinking to break a 3 hour marathon. How long does it take to run a sub 3 hour marathon? For some athletes, it can be a matter of 4 to 6 months. For other athletes, it can be several years. It can be decades. And again, would you rather not break the 3 hour marathon barrier and give up too soon, or spend a couple decades training to run a 2:59:59, achieve that goal, and then live the rest of your life knowing that you achieved it? You become a sub 3 hour marathon runner. And so many runners out there around the world, whether it's here in America or in China or Japan or other parts of the world, that want to say, hey, I broke a sub 3 hour marathon. I'm a sub 3 hour marathoner. And some athletes out there are trying to break 2 hours and 30 minutes. Some athletes are trying to break 2:20 for the marathon. Others are trying to break 2:10. And in some cases, the most elite runners of the world are trying to break the 2 hour marathon. So it's possible to break these time barriers, but it's a matter of how long are you willing to work? How long are you willing to get outside of your comfort zone? And trust me, if you're trying to break a 3 hour marathon, you're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone and do it often. 1 VO2 max workout a week, 1 speed workout a week, 1 long run a week. In most cases, what's worked best for me is I try to get 2 harder anaerobic workouts a week, and then the rest of the week, for the most part, I'm running easy. But my long runs, I'm not running slow every weekend. Of course, when I run slow, it's slow. It's between like 7:20 to 8 minute mile pace. But when I'm running at faster efforts during my long run, it's a combination of 5:20s, 5:50s, 6:10s, 6:20s, 6:10, 6:12, around that range. Again, it's a mixture of very fast efforts. So again, if you just get in the habit of running easy, slow aerobic running all the time, you're just going to be a superior long, slow aerobic runner. Okay. To break 3 hours, you have to have speed, you have to have stamina, you have to be very strong mentally, and you have to have a belief in delayed gratification. You have to prepare well. You have to run to break 3 hours, I would prefer you to run a negative split. Go out and say like 132, and then come back the second half in maybe like a 127 that gives you a 259. Or go out in 134 and come back in a 125, 259. It's much better to be a little bit more conservative in that first half and then really attack in the second half and come back and run that second half of your marathon faster than you run the first half. Hydration, hydration, hydration. Make sure you're practicing drinking in your long runs, during training, practicing taking in more calories in your long runs. Also taking in more calories, especially in the race, especially if you're trying to break 3 hours. So I hope this video on how long does it take to run a 3 hour marathon is helpful for you. If you have any other questions regarding this time barrier, feel free to reach out to me, or any other topic, anything that's on your mind, leave a comment below. I will definitely reach back and respond to you. So thank you so much for your support. Thanks to all my subscribers. If you're looking to take your training and racing to the next level, check out the resources below these videos or on RunDreamAchieve.com. They're definitely there to help you speed up your recovery and to enhance your racing and your fitness levels. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.